Hello. Brandy Rose Smith, live from the Forbidden Library. Hello. I'm going to do some reading today, as we do on every Sunday. And today, we will be continuing to read Cat-a-tonic, Marcus' Misadventure, or should we say Magus' Misadventure, because apparently that's what everyone else thinks he's called. And the question remains as if we will get to the talking cat today. But before we get into it, a recap is in order. So, Marcus, he wants to change the world. He dreams of grandeur, big plans. He wants to be isekai and go on an adventure and, well, not isekai, but he wants his life to be something a bit more than what it is. And what it is currently is a guy who just keeps the back rooms going in a pharmaceutical company called Wonderland Pharmaceutical, which doesn't sound sus at all. He's engaged to a scientist lady who's in the middle of a big project for the CEO, while he just sits there in the former prison cells that this place was made on, just getting boxes for people. But then he finds this little red book called CAT, Cat, Tricks and Tips. Apparently isn't actually about cats. It might be a spell book or a chemistry book, we're not sure. Either way, when him and his fiancée touched it, not at the same time, different times, but when they both touched it for the first time, they both got zapped by it, which is very strange. Books don't normally do that. Hey, look up the Will. Hello. Just doing a quick recap. That's okay. It looks like you've been busy. I've seen your tweets and things. I'm excited to see your model improvements in the future. Where was I? Oh, yes. And then Vincent got approached by the CEO, Mr. Vincent Payne, who is all in green, so he gives us very Wizard of Oz vibes, and he's very, very sus, and he needs something under the table really quick. And he was also very suspicious about the book and its zapping and things, so... But he's left him now, with threat of death if anyone finds out about stuff, so that's always fun. And I've been good. Things have been a little quiet in the chats, I'll be honest. But streaming is still fun, so who cares, right? Today, we tried to get to the talking cat. Vincent Payne's handwriting was neat and exceptionally fine, as if he was used to writing on the side of a grain of rice. Eventually, my eyes focused on the tiny script, and I deciphered the name of the company he wanted me to find. It's like he's whispering the name to me with writing. Impressive, honestly. Below the company name, he had written, "Week's supply needed," but he failed to specify how much was needed. Hopefully the company's website could provide order quantities and might explain what would make up a week's supply. The order was from Recombate? I don't know. That's what we're going with. Recombate. Isn't this for some kind of cloning or genetic testing? That would be major and might tie into Alan's regenerative project. Now, if that wasn't the most sus sentence you've ever read about a pharmaceutical company. Move over, Dolly. Let's go. Is it Dolly? No, it's Lucy, isn't it? Lucy the sheep. The sheep they managed to clone. I don't know. A wave of new excitement filled me as I thought about how my new project might even let me help Alana. I could be a hero on two fronts. What an idiot. I mean, I guess his fiance is working with, like, playing God with genetic material anyway, so I guess this isn't that much of a leap for him when this is already a thing for him. I don't know if they'd beat anyone among us with being that obviously sus. But they obviously have a lot of lawyers or are doing enough under the table that no one else cares, I guess. Wonderland Pharmaceuticals has a database of over 100 suppliers we do business with. I've lost count of how many the procurement department boasted about their network in the company meetings. However, there was nothing in our database that mentioned anything about recombinant. Perhaps it's too new to be in the database? I admit, seeing a gap in the system made me smile a little bit. It was nice to see the people above could make mistakes and weren't perfect as they considered themselves. Since our system didn't have the answers I needed, I turned to my favourite internet search engine, Yahoogle. Let's just mash them together, Yahoogle. Is that what would happen if, like, Yahoo won the internet search engine wars back in the day? Move over, Google. Here's Yahoogle. My grin broadened as I mused on the idea of finding what I needed using an everyday tool. Score 1 for the underground dwellers. Things did not go as smoothly as I had hoped. The first few pages of results were for various recombinant chemicals, but not what I was looking for. The search engine kept trying to auto-correct my query, and more than once I vented my frustrations with the changes it tried to force on my phrasing. Finally, after 8 long pages of results, I found a website for a company called Mobius Materials that had recombinant in its description. Mobius Materials' website looked like it had been created when the internet was young. The last time someone updated this site must have been in the early 2000s, when flashing banners, stocky columns, and data in Comic Sans and spinning logos were cool. Oh, I can see that in my head. That is a... Bingle Edge, that is a good suggestion. The page background was an ancient-looking castle, and at first I thought I had accessed an old video game or role-playing game site. It was a unique choice for a corporate website. At the top of the page, a red and yellow banner. Oh, why would you use those colours? Assuming this is as gloriously disgusting as you can imagine, it would. Oh, I bet it's like horrific red and yellow too. Like not nice, not gradiented or anything like that. Just horrific red and yellow. Red, recombing in time. On each side was an animated trumpet. It gets worse the more it gets described. That seemed to announce that I had entered the website. As I scrolled down, fiery sconces flickered and led me back to a set of double doors with the words "Enter" written in archaic font. Chuckling, I clicked on the doors and began my quest for the materials. Navigating the site was more of a game than a normal shopping experience. Every click became a test of nerves and luck. With the age of the site, I could easily envision it crashing if I clicked the wrong thing, or made too many choices too quickly. Shut up. This isn't a time for you to be nice. Go away. No, stay, but go away. Of course, There was also the possibility that I downloaded a virus onto my computer. Our firewall wouldn't let me on this site if it wasn't safe, right? Confident I was on the right track, I continued to delve further. No, you. I need to get an Uno reverse card picture. 1 second. 1 hot second. Oh wow, that's 1 second. That? No. That's fine. This is why you should lock everything when you're streaming, so that you don't have trouble. This is a very important meme, needs to be done. Ah! So to your compliments, this is what I give you. Whoops. Uno reverse. There you go. Text box, come back here. This is what I say to all your compliments. Get reversed. You're nice. You're cool. You're funny and a nice streamer and stuff, and there we go. There we go. Everything you say will now be Uno reversed. So ha! Oh, can't do it anymore. You've been Uno reversed now. It's the law. Confident I was on the right track, I continued to delve further. The first challenge was figuring out how to navigate. Instead of text, a corresponding image accessed every link and subsite. A book icon led to an archive of compendiums with a page heading that read Alistair's Album. That name made me pause. Alistair? Like the book? That must be a coincidence, right? I made a note on some scratch paper to come back later and investigate this part of the site when I had more time. Right now, I was on a quest for a holy relic called Emery Convent. With it, I would bring peace and glory to my homeland of Wonderland Pharmaceuticals. A lister. It could be someone who lists things, a lister of some description. The bubbling beaker took me to Gallows Glass, where flasks and other glassware were for sale. The link with a Tesla coil sent me to Esmeralda's equipment, which not only had an old lab machinery, but had an assortment of cooking utensils, camping implements, and tools. While each subsection shared the same level of basic construction, it was as if I was walking through a marketplace with various vendors calling out for my attention. Each had their distinct establishments and products. Clicking icon after icon, I eventually found a corked test tube that led me to Payne's Potions. Oh. As in the name of the CEO. Interesting. A test tube, really. A beaker would have made more sense. Also, why is it called Payne's Potions? Does Vincent Payne own this shop? With as much money as he has, I would think he could afford a decent website. Then again, if his site was easy to use, it might show up on the corporate radar. My mouse swung between the vial icon and the option to shut the page down completely. Tension built in my shoulders, and I tapped my foot on the floor. It would be easy enough to just close out and go back searching. Or I could tell Mr. Payne I wasn't comfortable with buying from this site and wanted to clear it with him. Playing out that scenario in my mind, I saw Mr. Payne give me a nod of confidence, wearing a wide, toothy grin as he listened to my report. "Do what seems right," he would say. "Isn't that right, Solomon?" He'd snap his fingers. The lumbering brute would step forward and, cutting off my vision, I brought myself back to the moment. It would go down like that. I chastised myself. All that would happen is that I'd let down the big boss and lose my chance. Maybe get fired later if it turns out what I've done is terrible. Still, the towering image of Solomon loomed in my head. Somehow, that size probably chased kids down beanstalks on his time off. With a final sharp inhale, I steeled my nerves and clicked on the icon. A new page came up, showing a road closure sign that read, "Closed to thorough traffic." Never in my life had I been so happy to fail. If the website was down, no one could fault me for not being able to place the order. Letting out a raspy wheeze of relief, I moved to close out the page and try my luck again. However, as my mouse traversed the screen, the background flaked away like a scratch-off lottery ticket. And the more I moved, the more I saw. After a series of quick strokes, I uncovered the treasure buried underneath. An image of a lion, standing on its hind legs and facing left. It reminded me of something you would see on an old flag. Old flag, you mean some English crests. Underneath the image was the first link that used words. My sigh was a combination of confusion and curiosity as I trailed off into relief as I read the long chemical name. Yeah. Like all chemicals, it was a mix of numbers and letters, subscripts and superscripts. Whoever had designed the web page must have really been into specialty fonts, because random letters and numbers twirled and jumped back and forth. Sounds like a dyslexic's nightmare. On the one hand, I can appreciate the showmanship and zany nature of it. It's quaint for its time, but on the other hand, how the heck do they expect people to order anything from this site? Clicking the link, I looked away long enough to get the credit card, but when I tried to move my mouse again, nothing happened. The screen froze. No, not now. No. I begged, clicking in rapid succession, fighting for any response. With a heavy heart, I prepared to restart my machine. This would mean losing all the work I had completed, and there was no way to be sure this would not happen again if I came back to this site. Before I could complete the shutdown, a simple grey window popped up with a question and made space for answers. The lettering was in small caps and italics. It's in italics. Italics. I can speak. It is slanted. Who are you? Stopping myself from restarting, I smiled. Oh, okay, it's just lagging. That's not too bad. I know, this is so sus. Why would you ever still be on this website? This is the horror movie bit where you're like, don't go in the basement. This is the digital version of the basement. Marcus, stop. Just shut it down, quit, and leave. It's your only hope. As soon as I answered that question, another appeared. Do you have the proper manual? As I considered this question for a moment, the red book on my desk caught my eye. That's right. This was from Vincent Payne's boxes. I bet the manuals were in there. Again, I gave my answer and received more questions. My groan echoed off the walls. Ugh. Pop-ups. How would you rate our website on the pre-Cambrian scale? Before I could reply, and long before I understood, a larger window appeared. This one was more elegant, with a font that looked like handwriting. We apologize for the frequency of our questions. As this is your first time visiting our site, we realize this can be very disorienting. Please bear with us and provide the proper responses. This is to ensure maximum safety. Once the questionnaire is complete, you will return to your regular performance. You will return to your regular performance. To start, please enter the quantity desired. What was up with this site? Maybe it's just old and glitching while trying to run everything? The smart thing to do is to close the browser and contact Mr. Payne to let him know the product is not available. This is the worst part, is that he knows. He knows the smart thing to do is leave right now, but he's not gonna, is he? He's not gonna. After all, I was tricked by a book's cover earlier. Do I really need to prove how gullible I can be again? Taking a sip of water, I read the statement a few more times and whispered to myself for reassurance. I won't get bamboozled again. Would you like to continue? Every alarm bell in my head went off, warning me to step away and move along. Yes, you should. Oh, there's an absolute singular brain cell in there working so hard right now. Folding my hands so I could touch the mouse, I stared at the button. If Alana were here, would she walk away? Yes! Or at least I'd like to think she would. I like to think she has a brain cell. But then she's doing all sorts of crazy experiments, so who the hell knows what, like, her brain cells are doing. She has a lot of them, but are they being directed in the right place? Who knows? She'd know this was all too out there, and would play it safe. Yes. I could almost hear her saying those exact words in my ear, and imagine how easily she could dismiss something like this as nonsense. Freeing my hand, I moved to close the window. Let me give this guy a clap. Close that window, friend. You can do it. This time, there was no secret message or resistance. It had all been part of the act to get me to screw up. My heart raced as I lifted my finger to finish the order. The thought of Alana being proud of me for my decision gave me strength and resolve to push forward with my plan. Yet, just as I was about to close it out, the scenario with Payne and Solomon played out again in my head. In this version, Alana stood beside me. That memory brought a smile to my face, and I knew we would get through anything together. But the scenario changed. Instead of looming towards me, Solomon shifted, heading to Alana. If I don't do this, and Alana supports me, they might take it out on her. My hand slid back to the center of the screen. If I did this, maybe I could use the good favor won with Mr. Payne to help Alana. I could be a hero.
Bruh.
You were so close, my friend. You were so close. But no, he loves his waifu too much. That was when I clicked the OK button rather than the close button. Ah, no, indeed. After that, things passed in a blur. Honestly, I don't really recall all of what I answered. Maybe it was fear, excitement, weariness from thinking about it all too much, or some combination of the three. But I just started typing as fast as I could. It was almost a game. Answer the pop-ups before the next one could show up. It was like I had two different questionnaires going on at once. Some were in handwritten font and were about chemical knowledge, how dense the packaging should be for the item in question, how long the experiment would take, and purity of the substance. I answered to the best of my knowledge, but felt my stomach drop when I submitted each answer. Not knowing the project's scope, I could only hope I was doing the right thing. These were intercut by the strange all caps fonts asking me about my opinion on the website, its color palette and the sound files used. As my area made every sound echo, I kept my laptop muted and could not answer the last inquiry. Sorry to hear that you can't hear it. With the way the comment was written, I could almost hear a goofy laugh following it. I continued answering questions until a question came up from the handwritten font. Almost done. Please enter quantity. Finally, I sighed in relief. I need a week's worth. So I guess that would be at least 7? No sooner had I entered my response than I received an error message. Quantities of 8 only. Maximum of 8. Why even give me the option? Correcting my error, I confirmed the amounts and continued answering questions. Now that the handwritten font was up, it asked how fast I wanted the package to arrive. The options were more images, each one depicting a different stage of the sun's path across the sky. They set the first to high noon, the second at sunset, and the last was just a black box. Selecting the middle option, I prepared for the worst part of any online order, the payment. It was one thing to answer questions and such, but I was dreading the point where I had to enter Vincent Payne's credit card number. I had already submitted to the madness of playing with a probable virus, but now I could be financially impacting Payne as well. Yet, no questions about payment appeared. Instead, a window popped up. Thank you, Magus Kyle. We have charged your card. Information will come soon. Please hold on to that slip. What slip? How do they know a card? Why does it keep calling him Magus? That's not his name! That upset me. It was kind of funny when I made the joke about my name being like an old sorcery title, and I imagined Vincent Payne was calling me that to butter me up so I'd help him with such a weird task. But I knew for a fact I typed my name in properly at the beginning. So as soon as I cleared away that window, I returned to the home page. However, now none of the links responded. As I shut down the page, a last pop-up appeared. Send to printer. My printer whirred to life, spitting out a confirmation page written in what looked like hieroglyphics. All I could understand was a single line: deliver to Magus Kyle. This is stressful. It's supposed to be a comedy book, and here we are with a horror. We did this with the kids' book as well. Am I going to read a book this year that doesn't suddenly turn into a horror at any point? That would be great. Oh. Sorry, I just had the thought because the next book I'm going to read does 100% also have a horror setup, so... I mean, that is assuming that I don't get to 200 soon, because I'm doing pretty well on that, but... that's just ironic. Okay, that's fun. This entire process has been surreal. I've used difficult websites before, but never had to answer so many questions. It was like I had been through an audit, and could only hope I passed. What confused me was why the web page's designer used 2 different fonts for the questions. Why set it up in a series of pop-up questions like a conversation instead of a simple form? I suppose that was why the website was so obscure. No one in their right mind would put up a website like that. Feature post, yeah. Still, at least they've got my name right for the delivery, but... Marcus? A woman's voice chimed. My heart nearly stopped. I may have squealed like a cornered mouse as I turned to see Alana standing in the door. Oh, geez, Marcus, it's only me, she added, a look of concern in her eyes. Are you alright? Why haven't you answered any of my texts? What texts? She sighed. Have you been messing around all day? Let's go! Go? Why? What's the emergency? She held her phone screen so I could see this. She held her phone so I could see the screen. No, it's time to go. You know, home. Returning to the moment, I checked the clock. Whoa, that order took a lot longer than I thought. Alana's face brightened. Order? Please tell me it was for work. We have enough stuff piling up at home, and you don't need to be starting any weird new hobbies. No, it was a work order, nothing weird at all, just helping. I trailed off, remembering Vincent Payne's request for discretion. While I would consider Alana an exception to the rule, now was not the time to be testing that hypothesis. Helping, I said, leaving it at that. I just need to finish shutting down and I'll be ready. Okay then. Alana nodded. In her eyes was a hint of pride that I had not seen before. Was it something I said? Maybe something I was doing. Whatever it was, I liked it. Maybe she was on this order, and this was all part of some corporate test. But that seems too far-fetched. That seemed too far-fetched, says the person who's been on the most haunted website on the planet just now. Plus, Alana was both a terrible liar and bad at acting. I'll meet you at the car, she yawned. Oh no. Don't say while yawning, I might actually do it. Blah. How dare you? How dare you, book? You made me yawn. I've been on my feet all afternoon. I need to sit down for a bit. With a final click, the door closed behind her, and I started shutting down for the weekend. No, too far-fetched. What? Did you remember what you just did? Like 5 minutes, a few hours ago, apparently. When I reached for the small red book, I stopped. Was it okay for me to take it home? Vincent Payne did not seem to have interest in it. He had called it blank. That part had really confused me. Was that some business slang for useless? Earlier I looked through it and it had seen plenty of writing and images inside. opening to the middle, I gasped and began to flip through the pages as fast as I could. Every single page had gone blank. It's gone blank! Oh no. But I thought they were gonna get home and then they were gonna do fun science experiments and then the cat was gonna talk. When do we get the talk? I was promised talking cats. We're 31% of the way in and we haven't seen any talking cats, which is very sad. I think I can take away that reverse now. You're gonna be good. I mean, that's his work computer that's probably gonna stay at work that's haunted. So, as long as that doesn't blow up the building, he's on like the lowest level. It would be one of the best places to put a bomb, theoretically. Because then everything would implode in on it. But, hopefully they're safe from that now. I'm taking away that reverse now. We're good. For now. Alana put the car in reverse and started moving the moment I opened the door. Throwing myself into the seat, I got situated and fastened the seatbelt on the fly. Jeez, Alana, what's the hurry? Can you give me a few minutes to get situated before we go street racing? Ah, yes. Going home and calling the Ghostbusters is definitely probably the best thing they should do. No, if you start complimenting me again, I'm getting the Uno reverse back out again. This is a threat. She grunted, pulling out into traffic as I attempted to retrieve everything I had dumped on the floor. We've been here long enough today. There was a sting in her voice, a barb of agitation behind her words that made me flinch. Everything okay? I was hoping her earlier grumpy nature was because of our leaving in the middle of a project, but now she seemed tense. A twitch was forming at the edge of her eyes, which was a sure sign something bad had happened. She shook her head. My project is finished. We wrapped up all our work and the results looked positive. It seems like the cellular regeneration was up to 35%, but when I took the results to Mr. Payne, he didn't seem to care. It wasn't just that he didn't care about how big of an increase this was, he actually seemed bored by it. Like I was just wasting his time. Even being in his office, he said the entire project was being scrapped as they prepped for actual work. Something about the time being right and that he needed to get ready. He told me that my results, while he was sure were impressive, were not what he was interested in. I'll be going back to my old station on Monday. No more project ownership for the time being. In one conversation, I went from leading the biggest new project to back running data reports. Letting out a long, sad sigh, Alana took another sharp corner. Right now, I just want to go home, take a bath, and try not to be too discouraged. Aww, what a dickhead. It's been a busy day. My mind was racing. I had so many things I wanted to say, to talk to Alana about, but was this the right time? She was feeling down, so my news about my special project with Vincent Payne might cheer her up. Or it might just sour her mood even further. Bro, the project with you is the reason she's sad, you dumbass. Telling her about all my research yielding nothing, and the fact that our boss didn't get shocked when he touched the book and that the contents were now blank, probably wouldn't help. No, I don't think it would. Look, I'm sorry about earlier, I offered. I know you aren't a big fan of being the centre of attention, especially with all that's going on at work. Alana shook her head. It's fine. I shouldn't have snapped at you like that. You were just trying to make me laugh. I'm just a little on edge with my project. I really thought this was going to be a big deal. I mean, I don't do this job for recognition, but it would be nice if the bigwigs would just at least talk to me like a person and give me some constructive feedback or direction instead of an abrupt end. Nodding as she spoke, I waited until she paused to let out a long sigh before I replied. Companies. Can't talk to them and can't burn the whole thing down. At least, not legally. Alana chuckled, the anger in her eyes from the day's events fading away just a little. Also, I added, did you really say bigwigs? After calling me out for using flim-flam earlier. She let out a full laugh. At least my word is something people use in this century. Yours sounds like you're going to try sell me some snake oil. This is such lovely banter. This is like, they're not a couple you think would work together, but then he starts cracking a little joke and looking at her happy, and then you realise why they're together, and it's just actually a very sweet dynamic, and I love it. I'm here for it. Flim flam. Did they use flim flam in The Mummy? I'm assuming you know the good one with Brendan Fraser. Now we were both laughing as she drove on. I looked at my phone. Besides all the missed messages from Alana, a message appeared on the screen. Upload complete. Make this device default? Oh no. The haunted PC is in his phone now. There was an option to either accept or decline. What upload? Does it mean update? My finger hovered over the options. After the daunting experience I had with that old website earlier, I was in no mood to mess with strange pop-ups. Clicking decline. Like a sensible motherfucker. I checked my apps and files for any changes. Nothing appeared to have been altered, so I relaxed a little bit. The last thing I needed was some malware messing with my phone. Another pop-up appeared. Original restored. Updates pending approval. Something's weird with my phone, I muttered. Well, don't keep clicking on things, Alanya yawned. No, don't do it. We're not yawning again. Get in the reverse box. This is where you live now. In the reverse box. The day's weariness seeping into her response. We can take it in tomorrow and have it looked over if we need to. Setting it aside, I picked the book up off the floor. No shock hit my fingers as they made contact. I flipped it open. I realised it might not have been a good idea. If Alana looked over, she might notice the blank pages. That could cause her to be distracted while driving. You went from being a wholesome complimenting person to someone who sounds very sad now. Sweetie, are you okay? I'm in an abstract cycle of pain and repetition. Sweetie, are you okay? I'm not a therapist, but are you okay? Good, I'm glad. Yeah! I screamed before I could stop myself, causing Alana to swerve. What? She snapped back, giving me a sideways glare. Are you hurt? Do you need me to pull over? No! The book! It has words in it! I know this isn't a joke, but this made me laugh so much I feel the need to press this button. It's got words in it, bro! Focus on me. The comedy book is getting too comedic, it's hard to focus. Confusion choked my words, preventing me from explaining further as I turned through the pages, seeing that every picture and word had returned. Wasn't it blank earlier? I imagined that. Did I imagine that? But why did Vincent Payne see it as blank? There was just a lot of blank pages in the book? Was that what I'd seen? We drove in silence for a full minute before she spoke. Marcus, dear, I love you. That was not funny. Sorry. I thought it was hilarious. I mean, maybe not while driving, but it's got words in it. Holy shit. Sorry. I whispered, staring at the page. I must be tired. The stress and all. It's been a weird day. Turning through the pages, I hoped for a section that might still be blank. Just 2 pages was all. I needed to prove that I was not crazy. One thing I loved about books was the simple joy of turning the page, of seeing what adventure lies in store on the other side. Yet, this time, each flip stoked my anxiety. A cliffhanger as I searched for confirmation of my hopes. I probably would have gone through the entire book on the car ride, but one page caught my attention. I had not seen it earlier, but I'd only flipped through it briefly this morning. While the rest of the book had been written in black, the ink here was an electric blue, giving a sheen to the letters which sparkled like gemstone. The title at the top of the page read, Recipe for Recumbent Alpha Tonic. Ooh. It definitely had at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words on the page that caught his attention. 5 whole words! My interest piqued. I read over it multiple times. The chapter described this experiment as a simple potion for realigning energies. A good place for beginners and people starting from scratch. It was an exercise that could increase the skill of the practitioner. The explanation for the theory behind how this worked was referenced in an appendix, and some entries pointed back to earlier topics. However, this seemed simple enough, mixing a few items and stirring. Some details focused on timing, specifically how the best time to make this tonic was called the witching hour. Stuff like that always made me laugh. Why would the time of day impact on how chemicals reacted? I supposed it was a sign of the times when superstition ruled more than sense and science. But still, a part of me was drawn in. The book itself was a mystery, delivering electric shocks and seemingly sporadically becoming blank. I wanted to know more, and maybe trying out a randomly blue experiment would be a good way to learn. Yay, we're gonna go home and do some black magic! At least it's not haunted technology this time. The instructions went on for several pages, explaining theories and making comments pointing to other chapters containing additional information. Sometimes it even pointed to other books in the series. Could those be in the boxes Mr. Payne wanted? Did he know anything about them? The more I thought about it, the more questions I had, and I forced myself to focus on the main instructions. I'd like to try this recipe. Alana gave me a patient smile, her tone calmer after I had been sitting quietly for the last few minutes and not randomly screaming about words in books. With the way she spoke, I could tell she was trying to be positive despite her own situation. Recipe? Is it a cookbook now? I thought you said it had chemistry equations and that it was supposed to be a book about cat tricks. Now that I think about it, why did you take it that from work? Did you find out anything about where it comes from? I couldn't find anything in the database about it online, or in the database. I was told that it was not important. Clearing my throat, I promised myself I would explain it in all more detail in the morning, once we calmed down and relaxed. Recipe seems to be what they call experiments and potions in here. It has all kinds of equations and theorems. Funny, I always thought that was the word for idea. She rolled her eyes at me. A theorem is a proven result. You're thinking of a theory, or rather, you're thinking of a hypothesis. It's just all those movies and video games you play that use the wrong word. Ah, today we learned a thing. Makes sense. I nodded in agreement, but I'm sure the vacant look in my eyes betrayed my lack of understanding. That's funny. D&D will get you on the right track for chemistry. I nodded and a faint hint of a smile cracked on her dour expression. In any case, this is probably the weirdest book I've ever read. I will give it this. It hasn't been boring, but it's just strange. Each time I read it, I find some fresh surprise. Closing the book, I looked over the spine and binding. There were no obvious signs of damage, nor did it look like the cover had been replaced. Not that I was an expert on bookbinding. No, you need to pay attention in your science lessons and things, because that makes you better at D&D. Because then if you want to play an alchemist or an artificer, then you know what makes things go boom! Yay! You know how to get the most shrapnel in your bombs to make the biggest shred damage and all sorts of fun stuff like that. School makes you better at D&D. Science! But you're a dinosaur. I don't know what that has to do with being smart. I don't know where I was going with that. You can be smart. You just need to find the reasons to be smart. And then once you're motivated to be smart, you can be smarter. I think maybe. Fake motivational shit. Let's get back to the book. Not that I was an expert on bookbinding, but I owned a lot of books, and I'd like to think I could spot a repaired book. This recipe looks pretty easy. I don't know a lot about chemicals, but Some sound really familiar. Throwing my head back, I gave the car's floor a kick. Things clicked in my head. This is a joke book! While I think you shouldn't take it seriously, nothing you mention sounds funny. Not like that. I thought maybe it was a gag gift, but maybe that is what it is. It is the gag! Burying my head in the book, I took a deep whiff before coughing at the musty old scent of ancient paper. The smell has faded, but I bet this is written in lemon juice or some kind of disappearing ink, only appearing in daylight. A weight came off my shoulders as the realization washed over me. It's all part of a joke. This is just a bunch of junior chemistry experiments. That's why Payne was acting so weird. Payne? As in our CEO? Why do you think he was acting weird? What happened today? Uh-oh, someone burst the bubble. Well, you said he wasn't interested in your report, I said. Still not comfortable talking about my interaction, now out of embarrassment that I was part of some gag. I bet that's why he didn't need the credit card. This is probably some prank. They pull on the guy in the archive. Still, that means I was tricked again by a book. With my personal crisis averted, I looked over at Alana, who took a moment to look my way as we turned, making sure I wasn't having some kind of panic attack or mental breakdown. A thought came back to me, as if it was all a prank. If it was all a prank, what about the blue page? If it was disappearing ink, why was it so different from the rest of the pages? As I thought about it, the solution fell apart. It was like my brain was fighting itself, trying to distract me with random guesses, but I was too stubborn to just go along with it. Finally, I tapped the blue ink page. Even if it is fake, it might be fun to try this out at the weekend. Yeah, now that the book's been sus from day one. Everything about this is sus. That little voice in the back of my head told me to toss the book out the window, to just forget it all and move on, go home, play video games, read any of my other books, and just relax. And that tiny voice in your head, my friend, would be entirely correct. Do anything besides fixate on one random book. The feeling was telling me that this was my last chance to step away and pursue my own goals. Listen to it. Yeah, listen to that last bit of sanity in his brain. Alana laughed. My growing concerns and fears faded back into the depths of my mind. Hearing that sound always made me feel bad. God damn it! Why is he so in love? I'm glad you're interested in chemistry. We can look when we get home. We just need to be safe and do it with plenty of light in a well-ventilated area, I imagine. She continued describing ideal laboratory setups while I could hear what she was saying. She moved through the steps needed in rapid succession. I honestly couldn't keep up. No, he's in love with his waifu because his waifu's laugh made him like calm down and just kind of shrug off all his worries, and that is man's downfall. I honestly couldn't keep up, and I hoped she would explain it again when the time began. Since the setup was out of my depth, I turned my attention to the blue instructions on the page, reading over them in constant loop. This book gets more complicated the more I read it. Alana, you took chemistry in college. Does it ever get any easier or start making sense as you read it? As long as it isn't organic chemistry, no one really understands it. She laughed, a piece of her dour expression falling away. Many people leave the field at that stage. It's a genuine test of character and commitment. Shaking her head, Alana drifted back from the tributary, the memory, the memory, and into the flow of our conversation. The whole point of a textbook would be to provide basic information and get more complicated as it goes along. That piqued my interest. After all, I wanted to start from the beginning, starting from scratch. What could possibly go wrong? Famous last words. Famous last words of the chapter. This has been such a good read so far. I'm genuinely having a lot of fun reading this. Comedy book is doing everything it needs to. 10 out of 10 so far, but we are only 37% of the way through. So who knows where it's gonna go? Will we get our talking cat? In our home sweet home. It's supposed to be comedy, not horror! But we shall see. We shall see how horrific it goes. We live in an old complex, with a nice courtyard. It was a quiet place, outside of the hustle and bustle of Savannah's day-to-day activities, but still close enough we did not have to spend a large parts of our days driving to and from work. Everyone at the complex kept to themselves. The only ones who really interacted with us were the cats and dogs in the courtyard. Not only was the area pet-friendly, but there seemed to be an unwritten rule that everyone could have an animal of their own. Ah, that would be lovely. Alana unlocked the door and a cacophony of noises greeted us as something large crashed its way through the house. Stacks of books which I really intended to read one day toppled over and piles of papers spilled onto the floors. Cords were pulled from sockets and something fell with a crash that would require a dustpan and a broom to clear. Her face darkened as the destroyer appeared. Slowly from a racing white comet to a almost dainty prance. Before us sat a large white cat with gold and amber eyes. The cat has arrived! He had a long, wild fur and the biggest ears, paws, and tail possible on a house cat. Oh, that's sad. I'm glad you managed to pop in, though. It's nice to hear from you. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Yeah. Yawning. Oh, I knew it. I knew it. It's the compliments. Well, thank you for the compliments. I can take this reverse down now that you're going. Goodbye. Goodbye, friend. Goodbye. Yawning, he licked his lips before giving us a coo mixed with a meow. Purloin? Alanya sighed as she stalked in the direction the shattering had occurred. What did you get into this time? Unlike my fiancé, I bowed low and scratched Purloin's ears. Hey, buddy, how was your day, Purloin? He mewed in response. While he never reacted to anything else, saying his name always earned a meow. That good, huh? Lots of birds and squirrels out there who know that you are the boss? Purloin flicked his fluffy tail, signifying the conclusion of his greeting ritual. He padded towards the kitchen, stopping after a few feet. He looked back at me and meowed when I did not move. He trotted back and sat down to stare at me. I know, you want your dinner, right? Alana came into the kitchen, holding a broken ceramatic figurine. She sifted through the junk drawer until she found the superglue. Purloin strode before her, accepting her wicked glare with cool indifference. Purloin, I wish you wouldn't get up on things. There are breakables on those shelves. He's a cat, and they climb. Maybe if we let him out into the courtyard, he'd be calmer by the time we got home. We could install a cat door. With a steady hand, Alana held the broken arm of the figurine in place as the glue set. Yes, but would you actually let him outside? You worry enough about him as it is, and he's never been around other cats or dogs. What does he know about protecting himself? As big as he is, Purloin is just a house cat. He's no lion, Marcus. Purloin meowed in response to his name. Yes, I'm talking about you, troublemaker. Meow. I need to get a meow sound effect so that I can press it every time. It'll be great. Note to self. Note to future me. It was an old conversation, one we revisited often. No one ever seemed to be satisfied by it, so I decided now was the time to shift to something new. Okay, so what about my experiment? Do you think we have the stuff to run the test? Alana looked at me over the top of her glasses, easily seeing through my attempt to change the conversation. Hold this. She nodded to the broken arm. I'll go upstairs and check our junk room. We should still have the chemistry kit you got after that superhero movie. It's still probably unopened. We traded off on the holding of the arm, like we were exchanging a golden idol for a bag of sand to prevent the jaws of the trap from opening. It's not a junk room, it's storage, I called after her. I'm going to finish every project up there, and I'll start all the unopened ones. It just needs to be organized. That's like me, and some of the boxes of clothes I have. I intend to wear them all at some point. They just need to be organized. Where would you even start? The costuming sets, the electronic repair kits, your bookbinding supplies, or maybe all the old cookbooks. This sounds like an ADHD person who's just been hopping hobbies. Hopping. Hop. After about a minute after Alana left, I could feel the glue taking hold. Moving the salt shaker close enough to hold the broken pieces in place, I flipped open my red book and began going over the experiments list of chemicals. A pinch of salt, a dash of baking soda, some talcum powder, and a variety of other things. Opening every cabinet drawer and inspecting every shelf in our refrigerator, I started pulling out anything that had an ingredient related to my hunt. Eventually, I discovered that it was easier just to grab everything and sort it out later. And I know I've said that their dynamic is quite cute when he manages to like break down her sadness a bit. But this would drive me fucking wild. It was like being a kid in a candy store, but instead of sweets, I was hunting for powders and liquids. Upstairs, something shifted. and collapsed. I'm okay! Alana coughed. Just moving your projects into smaller piles. Every step of the way, Purloin followed, sniffing at every single item I found. He meowed in disappointment when I moved potential food away from him. No matter what I was doing, he was a few steps behind me. It had been that way since he was a kitten, when I found him, or rather, when he found me. He was a small kitten who tried to move out of the road. He hid in my car's undercarriage and rode home with me. That had been a day to remember, and sometimes I thought about how much could have gone wrong. Since that moment, we'd been inseparable. If I got a snack, he hunted for the crumbs. If he got into the tucked away space, I'd fish him out after he got stuck. And I would have a drink. Oh, you did? That's very adorable. That is scary, like how much could have gone wrong. Like the cat things could have, that poor cat could have met a grisly fate. But you rescued your cat. That's very cute. And no worries about being late. I've been thoroughly enjoying your book so far. There have been times when I've been physically distracted because I've been laughing so much. My favorite bit so far has been the it's got words in it when he's talking about the book. It's been great. It's been wonderful. Well, I braved the depths of the vault and found an old chemistry kit, Alana proclaimed with triumph as she held up the faded box. Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. I see. So this is where Purloin's entitlement comes from. It's like, ah, I went through so much danger to get here. Feed me, human. Wonderful. I doubt any of the chemicals are still worth using, but the test tubes and candle could still... She froze, staring at the results from my scavenger hunt. As she fucking should. I was upstairs for 5 minutes, she whispered. How did you turn the kitchen into that in 5 minutes? Before I could respond, Purloin leapt onto the counter. The crowded space caused him to bump into the salt shaker and knock the figurine's ceramatic free arm. Ceramatic arm free. Talent and teamwork? I offered, hoping she might just laugh it off. Just like before, my attempt failed. Alana often said that I did not stick with things, but here I was, still trying to nudge her mood towards laughter. He only stick with things for his waifu. Loves his waifu too much. Marcus, Alana warned through clenched teeth. Sliding the old kit onto the counter, she let out a long breath to calm herself. I'm glad you're getting into chemistry. Again. But could you please not destroy the kitchen while doing so? Sorry, Alana. I offered in my friendliest tone. I'll clean it all up. Why don't you take a bath and relax? She set the chemistry set down on the table, eyeing the growing assortment of ingredients with concern. Maybe I should look upstairs and see what I can find. She scanned the room, surveying all I had accomplished in such a short amount of time. No, then you just make a mess in another room. How about I look and you get dinner started? There should be something in the freezer. Purloin let out a grumble, stretching until his head bumped my hand. Yes, and I'll feed you, buddy. Placing the prepared bowls aside, I grabbed Purloin's bag of treats and dropped a few into the bowl to tide him over while I went upstairs. Purloin gave a half-hearted growl to dismiss me as he consumed his snack with a ravenous hunger. Backing away to give him his space, I started getting dinner ready. While I was no chef, I could preheat the oven and cook a frozen pizza. As Purloin chomped, the oven beeped. I looked at my phone. A notification showed that my tablet and phone had synchronized, and I could now look at the photos of my new book on a larger screen. Before I could start my research, someone knocked at the door. Purloin looked up from his bowl, but did not slow the pace at which he consumed the last crumbs of his treat. He looked up from licking the bowl and gave me a look that said, "Get rid of them. Make yourself useful, human." And continued chomping. Neither Alana nor I was expecting anyone, and it seemed too late for deliveries. Peering outside, I saw a van pulling into our parking area. On the side, it had a large lion logo. That it reminded me of that website's icon. That must be a coincidence, right? I mean, a lion is a pretty common mascot. Another knock came from the door, and I jerked back. Cracking the door, a small man holding a wrapped package stood waiting. He wore a top hat with a lion logo. He smiled broadly as our eyes met. "Package for you, Magus," he said in a cheery tone. My name is Marcus Kyle. I think you may have the wrong person." Just before I could close the door, he leaned forward, and the box bumped me back. "No mistake, sir. You placed an order for some chemicals. Here you are." He thrust the package forward, forcing me to take it. Before I could protest, he stepped away. "It was a pleasure to meet you, Magus Kyle." Confused, I brought the package inside and unwrapped it on the dining room table. Inside were 8 vials with cork stoppers, their contents a shimmering rainbow of colours. The insides moved like a lava lamp, blobs drifting in their suspension. What in the world is this? There was an opulence quality to the liquid colour sparking along its surface. For a moment, I thought back to the vial I had found this morning and left on my desk. I wonder if it had been the same goop in each one, just separated by decades. Setting the vial down, I shook my head to dismiss the thought. If this was the same chemical, why would Vincent Payne need me to order it? After all, something that had been around for so long should not be that hard to find. It could be an old chemical that was no longer carried by most distributors. Or maybe Payne didn't like the thought of people at work knowing he was trying out something so archaic. The idea of mixing up random chemicals to see what happened, and throwing in some old school stuff for good measure, appealed to me. I could certainly see the excitement in the idea. Maybe Payne and I were not so different after all. Having resolved the notion, or at least provided myself enough of an answer that I found it boring to continue that line of thought. ADHD brain. I started searching the padding until I found the invoice and confirmed that the chemicals were for the recumbent solution I ordered earlier. Who was that? Alana called down the stairs. "Delivery guy," I responded, turning the paper over in my hands. But as I tried to figure out what was going on. But it looks like the package I ordered at work got delivered here. "Were you ordering some more books on the job?" "No, it was something they asked me to order for a project, but it makes no sense why it came here. I put in the company address and everything. Nothing should have listed our place. Plus, I ordered it a few hours ago. There is no reason it's here, and I don't understand how it got here so fast." Amazon, eat your heart out. Alana peeked her head from the stairs. I pulled a vial from the box and showed it to her. "There are no instructions, and I'm not sure if this needs to be refrigerated or not." She shook her head. "I've never seen a chemical like that. What is it supposed to be?" "It's recombinant," I answered, hoping that it would be enough information. "That doesn't make much sense. Recombinant is just combining of an organism, cell, or genetic structure. It's not a kaleidoscope of colours and blobs." Purloin took that moment to jump on the table, spilling some ingredients I had pulled from the kitchen onto the floor. Unconcerned with the mess he had just made, he meowed with indignation as he looked in the box. Full boxes that didn't have the decency to contain any food were among his greatest disappointments. An empty box was the only kind that he assigned any value, as those he could sleep or play in. He batted one paw at the insulation, testing to see if it might hold the potential for amusement. "I know you're hungry," I told Purloin, removing him from the table and earning myself a series of furious complaints followed by a loud grunt. "Just a little longer, I promise." As I gathered up the strange chemicals, I remembered how insistent Vincent Payne had been about getting this package. This could be my chance. If I got this to him today, I might really impress him. Plus, I have no clue how stable this stuff is, or if I can legally even have it here. Maybe he could explain what exactly is going on. I mean, none of this fills me with much confidence. This could be my ticket to being important. Meow! Purloin gave me a flat, uncaring meow before looking over his shoulder towards the kitchen. "Hey, Alana, I'm gonna run this package to work. No clue why it came here, but this way no one complains about the shipping." Grabbing my keys, I hefted up the box and started towards the door. Purloin complained again. "Please feed Purloin," I called out before racing out the door. The whole way back to work, I tried to figure out what I would say when I met Mr. Payne. Should I tell him the package came to my house? Should I play it off as if it were no big deal? Was now the time to talk about Alana and my potential in the company? I mean, all those corporate training seminars talked about seizing opportunities and being your own salesperson. But would this be too much of a slight detail to focus on? All I was doing was delivering 8 vials of weird-looking liquid to the CEO. I made it to work in record time, only violating a few traffic laws along the way. As I pulled into the parking lot, my head swiveled to the side in search of Vincent Payne's car for a full minute before I realized I didn't know what his car looked like. "You're putting the cart before the horse again," Alana's voice came into mind, echoing all the previous times she had warned me about doing the exact same thing. After parking with haste, I snagged the package and ran to the entrance. The door refused to open, and I patted my legs looking for my badge. "Where is it?" I groaned before realizing it was still in the car. Just as I turned to head back to my car, the door swung open. Oh good, I sighed. Thanks, I forgot my badge, and Solomon's bulk filled the doorframe. He glared at me with a cold and unfeeling expression, his eyes lowered to the box in my hand. My body shook at the low grumble that emanated from his chest. This is for Mr. Payne, I offered, flipping open the box to show him the contents. His eyes opened ever so slightly, and he might have made a gesture that was a salute. That was a statue. He might have made a gesture that a statue would consider an attempt at a smile. It's a funny story, you see. Alana, she works in the labs, and I had just got home when a large man's hand lunged towards the box. The sudden motion caused the words to catch in my mouth, and my stomach dropped somewhere near my ankles. Anyone looking at me probably would have seen my soul leave my body as I recoiled from the larger man. Never in my life had I seen anything that big move that fast. All the movies I'd watched really did justice to what it looked like. I assume that didn't really do justice to what it looked like, I assume. His arm ratcheted back, all of the vials grasped in one large hand. Solomon emitted another growl, and he stepped back into the building. The door swung closed behind him. Yeah, you'll let Mr. Payne know that Marcus and Alana got those for him, right? Solomon? Buddy? My only reply was the click of the door shutting. Okay, I shouted, talking more because of nerves that needed to be heard. Talk to you on Monday, big guy. Walking back to my car on wobbly legs, a rush of emotions hit me. Fear at the silent tall man. Anger that I had been so easily dismissed. Confusion at what was happening. Disappointment from having really tried and still didn't matter. I sat in my car, taking deep breaths until I could get my nerves under control. What was all that? I asked myself. I'd been dismissed and ignored before, but something about that interaction really messed with my head. The empty box sat beside me, and I could make out the tag on the top. I read it aloud to myself. To Magus Kyle, never stop learning what you already should know. Staring at the car, I shook my head. Tell me about it, Boxy. Let's go home. Oh no, Carty's got some competition. Okay. Chapter 8. Should be able to get one more chapter in, and then that'll be a day. Quick drink. I thought for sure the cat Purloin was gonna jump on the table and then knock over one of the vials, and then something wacky would happen. But I guess we'll have to wait. Palmstar! Hello! Long time no chat. How are you? It is Sunday, innit? And I am drinking me water. Nice to see you, bro. Happy time. While I made significant progress in calming my nerves on the drive home, a part of me was still uneasy. I had seen Solomon walking around the labs before, with his grim expression and that monstrous stride of his. People always commented on how much he looked like some wild animal more than a human. But I never paid any mind. Yet I couldn't put aside how much his presence had unnerved me. The way he disregarded my mere existence and took those vials without a word. Oh, that's poop. I hope things calm down for you. Or at least I hope it's busy, fun busy, and not stressful busy. Because that is possible. You can be busy and just be having fun with life. Too busy for the VTubers. Too much life happening. When it happened, I thought I just hated being ignored, but the more I look back at the memory, the more I hated how small and weak it made me feel. Under his eyes, it was as if I shouldn't even be alive. Alana was sitting in the living room and caught that look on my face. She was on her feet before I could say the first word. Marcus, what's wrong? What happened? I tried to speak, but words would not form. Instead, I let out a billowing sigh and let my hand point aimlessly around the room. When I finally got enough of my nerves under control to speak, I blabbed out a mostly incoherent reply. Ran into Solomon. That guy, he freaks me out. I feel like a bug about to be squashed. I stopped, a shiver running up my spine. When I opened the door, he was right there. Didn't even say a word as he took all those vials. I guess they knew about the mix-up, but I'm not sure how, but they must have figured it out. It will be okay, Alana told me, pulling my head to her shoulder. I'm sure they know it was all a mistake. No one is going to be mad at you for a shipping error. I guess so, I mumbled, my face still squished into her shoulder. Do you want to start the experiment? It's a simple intro potion called Onlucan. Oh, that's Welsh, isn't it? Is that Welsh? That looks Welsh to me. Glywens. Let's say Glywens. Onlucan Glywens. God, that sounds Welsh too. And it's mostly just coloured smoke. It sounds funny, but it says if you do this potion, you can do anything in the book. She laughed in her quiet, soothing way. I think we've had enough for one night. It's been a long enough week. I think it's time for me to go to bed. You coming? No, I think I'll stay up and play on the tablet. Maybe review the book a little more. I held up both items. My brain's been moving too fast for me to sleep soon. Anyway, this is ADHD protagonist. Oh, don't stay up too late, she yawned, walking towards the stairs. Purloin hopped up beside me, making a gurgling meow as he rubbed against my leg. You are a different cat once you've eaten, you know, Purloin? It's like the Snickers advert. Purloin, you're not acting like yourself. Here, eat a Snickers. He let out a sharp exhale in reply, almost like he acknowledged what I was saying. The download to my tablet was complete. In fact, I discovered there was even more content on my tablet than I had expected. Not only did the photos transfer, but it also had a full electronic copy of the book. Did I download a digital copy? How did that happen? I turned the paperback over in my hand. There was no QR code or barcode anywhere on the cover. Just as I cracked open the book to continue searching for an explanation, a window popped up on my tablet screen, reading, "Make this copy your primary, yes or no?" As I did with any pop-ups, I clicked yes. Dumbass. Why is he such a dumbass? And opened the book. The animation of the cover opening was well done. The screen zoomed in and there was a rustling of pages with the audible crack of an old book's spine. The animation settled on the first page. Under normal circumstances, I preferred paper over electronic copies. Yet, even I had to admit the quality of the font and the clarity of the diagrams was far superior. It was like I was reading a brand new copy of the book. Some sentences that I could have barely made out earlier were now written in a neat, understandable fashion. There were even a few lines I didn't recall reading before. Weird. It almost looks like there are more lines in this version than my copy. Maybe there was a revision? With a flick of my finger, I went through the pages, looking for any copyright information or anything that might talk about any updates or publishing information. When nothing came up, I grabbed the paperback to compare it. Once again, the book was blank. Immediately, panic gripped my heart as I tried to determine what I could have done to make the entire book get wiped clean. Purloin became alert as he sensed my distress, rolling back onto his stomach and looking around the room. Ah, the mighty hunter. Roll onto your back. This makes no sense, I whispered to calm myself. Accepting a digital copy doesn't destroy the paper version. That's not how anything works. Realizing my panic was for something mundane, Purloin returned to his nap and let out a displeased grunt. Going back to the tablet, I verified it still had a copy of the book, then went to the instructions for the experiment I had been prepping earlier. I was pleased to see it all remained, though it was now contained 2 new sentences. For added efficiency, add the chemical under the table to the concoction. Also, like all good magical experiments, this potion is best manufactured during the witching hour. Oh yeah, because that explains so much, I grumbled, petting Purloin with my free hand, until he rolled onto his back and let out a slow, rhythmic purr. His relaxation ebbed into me, calming the growing agitation I was feeling for this book. Now all I need to figure out is what any of this means. What chemical under the table? Is that a mistranslation? It means literally, doesn't it? It means literally a chemical under his kitchen table. This book knows too much. Burn it! Something was off about these new sentences. The choice in font reminded me of the pop-ups that weird website had used at work earlier. But that idea seemed too coincidental. I was probably just tired, and my brain was creating random patterns to stay alert. Before I could delve on that topic any longer, the page on the screen flipped. I realized I must have been fidgeting while I thought and accidentally moved on in the book. I saw the answer to some of my questions on the new page before me. My heart tensed as I read the lines. The font was different now, looking like the handwriting style I'd also read earlier. Now, Magus, I am sure you have questions. Questions such as, what chemical? And witching hour, what is that? For the former, please look under your dining room table. You dropped something earlier. As to the latter, the witching hour, also called the devil's hour, is a time of night associated with supernatural events. It is when magic is at its height. If you have ever been up late at night, you may have experienced this phenomenon. There is a stillness to the world, as everything on Earth is waiting for something to happen. I don't the people seem to be learning magic, but the book has also promised us a talking cat, so we might be doing magic on the cat later. Who knows? This can occur between the 3rd and 5th hour of the new day, at least 2 hours before dawn break. You may think this text is reading your thoughts, but please be assured we all have questions like these, and they were taken into consideration when the initial book was penned. How did they know it was going to be under the table then? They knew the future? Okay, this is too weird. Putting the tablet back on the charger, I decided it was time to call it a night. There had been enough weird occurrences for one day, and I was probably just imagining everything. His sleepiness is becoming my sleepiness. My overworked and overstimulated brain creating links that didn't exist. Purloin let out a happy meow as he raced to his bowl, sitting before it in anticipation. Nice try, buddy. I laughed, reaching down to scratch his ears. I know Alana fed you, and you've already got sympathy treats from me, so your sad eyes won't trick me this time. Cat says it's never been fed. That is correct. As I stood back up, a glint of something under the table caught my eye, and the book's comment about a chemical came back to me. Reaching under it, I plucked one vial that must have fallen out of Payne's package. How did this get here? Purloin huffed, displeased to no longer have my full attention, and that I was not putting food in his bowl. He leapt up onto the table, shoving many of my containers close to the edge. Aha! Put things on a table, I will put things off a table. Did you knock this off, Purloin? Instead of answering, he merely sniffed the vial and rubbed his face on it. This isn't food, I instructed while moving it away from the table. Like before, the strange colours and blobs inside demanded my attention. There was something strange about this chemical. My tired eyes watched it as it drifted back and forth within the golden solution. It's too late to be running this back to work. I guess I'll just have to do it on Monday. After all, they didn't seem to care earlier. Securing the vial between some old flasks and bowls of materials, I went to bed. We're on chapter 9, and that's also getting on time-wise, so I think we're gonna end it there for now. I would highly suggest Palmstar watching the VODs for this. It's been a really funny book so far. I've been really enjoying it. Genuinely, I've been laughing so much at points that I've actually been distracted from reading. It's been good shit. And it was also very nice to see you. I'm glad you're doing okay. Or at least I hope the busy is not stressful busy. And if it is stressful busy, may it get less stressful very soon. Anyway, that'll be me for the day. Thank you very much for people who showed up in chat. Thank you very much for anyone who may have lurked. Thank you very much for anyone who watches the VOD. If you would be so kind as to leave likes and maybe consider subscribing, that would make me very happy. If not, well, thank you anyway. This has been Brownie Rose Smith, live from the Forbidden Library. I had fun. I hope you had fun. Goodbye.